bringing you the latest news from Liberty Athletics. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back into the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. We're going to jump into the Patriot Fan Zone here in a second. I just realized I've not run through this week's schedule, so let's do that real quick, the football schedule. Thursday night is a busy night. We've got 3 games in and around Lubbock. In District 2, 5A, Division 1, the district opener, Monterey goes up to Amarillo High, plays at 7 p.m. at Dick Bivens Stadium. That'll be on 93.7 The Eagle. Estacado's at home against Randall. That's non-district still, but that's a game that's always pretty entertaining because those two have played on and off for years. That's down the radio dial. Kingdom Prep is at home in TAP six-man football against Amarillo Boys Ranch. Joe Sexton, do you know who the Boys Ranch coach is?
Lewis Kelly.
Lewis Kelly III. Little bit of football DNA right there.
Yes.
Friday night, District 2 5A Division 1 in town, Coronado opens up the district season at Lowry Field against Tascosa. District 2 5A Division 2, Lubbock Cooper starts that district season up at Sherwood Memorial Stadium in Plainview at 7 p.m. In non-district, Midland Christian comes to town. They play Friendship at Tiger Stadium. I'm sorry, I need to go back. Lubbock Cooper is right here on 100.7 The Score. Coronado's game is on 96.9 The Bull. Friendship is at home against Midland Christian. That's on Double T 97.3 FM. These Patriots go down to the desert to Fort Stockton, which I guess when you get to Fort Stockton, you're there. That's about the best thing I can say. That is 7 p.m. I think it's not Pioneer. Is it Pioneer Stadium? Panther Stadium. I knew it was one of those. And it is 93.1 Young Country. Stratford, another really good Panhandle team, comes to town to play Trinity Christian at 7 p.m. at Warwick Memorial Stadium. Lubbock Christian goes up the road to New Deal for a 7 p.m. kickoff. And Levelland goes down to San Angelo Lakeview for a 7 p.m. kickoff. One more 6-man TAPS game, Christ the King goes to Lasbuddy. I've never figured out where Lasbuddy is in Texas. I just know we're somewhere nearby. 7:30 p.m. So that's the schedule this week. I mentioned the Patriots. They are 4-0, coming off of, I think George Watson, my guy that covered the game for me for HubCityPreps.com, mentioned this. Maybe the biggest signature win in their year and 4-game history. They beat Seminole 63-27. That got them to 4-0. And I'm going to get these guys to talk about that game a lot. We'll talk about Fort Stockton a little bit too, because I bet that Fort Stockton's loaded for bear to take you guys on, because that was your first ever win.
Right, that was our first program win.
And it was a great game. I was at that game.
Yep, that was a really good game. George
and I may be your good luck charm, so maybe we'll
keep coming.
Figure something out. Joe Sexton, you mentioned me a couple times. He's the guy to the far left, the handsome gentleman on the far left. He has brought 2 of his players. I'm going to let him introduce them real quick and get them to say hello so you know who's talking on the radio.
This is Cy Leach. He's one of our quarterbacks. And this is Josiah Rosales, one of our inside linebackers.
Josiah, tell them you've been around for 3 years.
Yes,
so
sir.
We'll start with you. How cool was Friday night? I'll just open that wide open for you.
Man, it was an experience. You know, having a game where it means something, and there's a lot of banter going on between teams on social media and in person. Having a win like that and just the feeling, it's almost unreal. Like, it's hard to explain.
You guys dominated a good football program that had handled you fairly well the year before. Cy, did you play the year before against Seminole, or were you still kind of working your way to that point?
I was still on JV, but I was at the game, and I know how much it meant for us to win this game and how much it meant to the guys last year for us to come back and win this game. So I felt it, and I was just as happy that we won that as they were.
I think I can guess the answer to this, Joe. The environment was pretty good the other night.
It was electric.
Best yet?
Yeah, that first ball game that we had last year with the flyover and and everything.
Against Fort Stockton.
That was our first game in the stadium, and just the first of a whole lot of things. And but this game the other night, the way they took care of business against us the year before, there was some retribution ready to be handed back, and there wasn't a whole lot of motivation that the coaches needed to do this week. These guys just did it on their own, and they were ready to go.
We've talked about this all season, though. I don't know that I'm sure you give some good motivational speeches.
I really don't have to. We have some coaches that take care of that, between Coach Quinton and Coach Newton and Coach Tolliver. There's a reason why we hired those guys, because that's probably one of my negatives as far as that. I'm not really
ball voice.
Yeah, I'm not really a rah-rah guy all that much, but I tell you what, I was ready to go the other night.
I saw some pictures. I always tell you that. There's pictures of Joe Sexton on the sideline. The reason I said that is because we've talked about this. I don't know that you ever have to motivate this crew very much because of how close you were last year to being in a much different spot.
That was a big deal. Last year things didn't go our way, and they didn't want a repeat of it. These guys have. We've got a really good sophomore class that's playing up this year, and combining those guys with our seniors and our juniors, it's been really good. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of motivation from us because they don't want a repeat of what we went through last year, and it's been a good season so far. And it's really crazy that we're almost halfway through.
Yes, I mentioned that before, that we're getting into, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to knock on wood again, hopefully more fall weather, not 100 degrees.
Well, we are going to the...
Yeah, you don't...
To the...
You guys better hydrate. You mentioned...
somebody told you all that before today?
Yes. Cy, you mentioned that you were still kind of toiling on the JV last year, getting ready, but you were thrust into a different role towards the end of last season when Colton Richard got dinged up. You came in and started the last two games?
Just the last game.
Okay, so you got out there with a lot on the line against Levelland, so you got some experience. Because you guys are thumping people right now, you're getting a lot of snaps right now. How comfortable are you getting? Because you're one of those sophomores in that sophomore class. How comfortable are you getting with being a varsity quarterback?
Yeah, I'm getting. Last year really did help. Just that first game was it was a little tough to get used to that first half, but the second half I really eased in, and then the beginning of this year, just sitting behind Colton and learning from him has helped, and just getting the snaps have really helped me ease into the speed of the game and just how different it is. But I'm getting used to it very quickly.
It's not a bad guy to learn from, especially with the game he had the other night. The other night was a 63-27 win for Liberty. They are 4-0. They hit the road for the first time this season Friday, go to Fort Stockton, 7 p.m. We'll be back with the second segment of the Patriot Fan Zone right after this break.
Diving headfirst into Liberty Athletics. You're listening to the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back to the Patriot Fan Zone. I got it right that time. I feel like I owe Joe Sexton and Liberty one Patriot reference. I better not do it Wednesday with Lubbock Cooper's here. I want to keep Chip happy. Chip should be happy after the other night against Friendship. So
yeah, that was a big win.
It was a fun. You've been a part of a lot of those. You were just talking about one. They never disappoint, not a single time. You guys are going to find maybe a more permanent rival pretty quick, I would imagine, if probably Estacado here for the next few years, and then you'll be up there in that same crew with everybody else. So, well, right now you don't need to worry about rivals because you guys are just playing really good. And we've talked each week this season. I'm going to bet the answer to this. Joe, I'm going to guess you saw some progress from your guys this week.
We did. It was there's always part of the game where we kind of have a lull, I guess. We've talked about that over the last few weeks, and usually it's somewhere around the end of the second quarter, middle of the second quarter. But we came out, and I think we wanted to. We were pushing it just a little bit early, and we had a couple of turnovers. And those were just. I think one of them was Pierce was just trying to get extra yards, and sometimes that happens. And I think we had an interception. So I think those were our first two turnovers of the year. And then, but the way the defense stepped in and kind of got the ship back in the water, and I think it was really good. So we're still searching for that 4 quarters of football, and we were just talking about our dear Cowboys. They can't play a complete game either, so it's really hard to get to that, to play a full 4 quarters, just because the other team wants to win too.
Yep.
So, but that's one of the things that we're working towards.
You say that, Josiah, pick up that microphone. You guys gave up an early touchdown, and then Seminole, they scored 27 points, which can win you a lot of games. But what did you guys do on defense to keep them from really gaining a ton of momentum?
We stayed relaxed. Coach Q and Coach Oliver were telling us all week, and before the game that Friday, they were both saying, have fun. Football's a game. We're here to have fun, here to play. After that first touchdown, we got to the sideline and we're like, it's gonna happen. People score, sometimes they don't. So we had like a mentality that, reminder that this is just a game, and we're here to have fun and play.
You didn't let them run the ball much either, and I know the offensive and defensive lines have been a focus all season. How key is that for you guys on defense when the other teams kind of take one of their hands away like that?
Man, it's a game changer. You expect, a team like that, they're going to run the ball down your throat, but I mean, when your D-line just clogs that up, it only gives you 1 or 2 gaps for you to fill, man. It makes your job a lot easier.
So, Cy, we talked before the break about you watching Colton as you kind of wait your turn a little bit, and I think I can speak for Coach that I hope you don't get a chance to have to step in as a starter this year because Colton's healthy. What do you want to learn as you watch him and you get in sporadically in games?
Just how he handles practice and how he approaches it, just treats it like a game, and how he approaches film and what he looks for, and how he approaches games and just calm no matter what. He threw a pick last week, it didn't really matter, but it didn't affect him at all, and he came out and I think he threw a touchdown the next drive. So just how he just keeps going, and how little things like that don't really affect him much, and how he just stays level-headed, and he's just
So one of the first times I interviewed those guys, Coach had me come out and I talked to Colton and I think Jackson Gonzalez maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fun to watch you guys, the senior group, grow physically. But
Right.
Colton, the difference between talking to him that day and just talking to him now is you can see that emotional maturity as much as anything. Follow up on what he said there, Joe. You've watched the kid for 3 years now. You've seen him go through an injury. You've seen him on the golf course as well. How much has Colton just evolved as a person, let alone a player?
Well, it's really strange. Just like when we started our first season, we had no idea who our quarterback was going to be, and we saw Colton and watched him throw the ball a little bit. So we kind of was like, all right, Colton's going to be the guy. But he has, his mentality. He's unflappable. You never see him. And he's a lot like this guy. They're pretty similar as far as their demeanor on the field, and that you got to have that in a quarterback. You like a little fire, but you also want that even keel demeanor.
We're going to talk about his football DNA here in a little bit when we come back. There's 2 3-year starting quarterbacks in Lubbock right now. That's Colton Bouchard and Ryan Rodriguez, and both guys are playing at a pretty peak level right now. So, Cy, you've got a chance to fill some shoes. So, coming up on the break, we'll be right back in the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Liberty sports. This is the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the final segment of the Patriot Fan Zone on a Monday night. The Patriots go down to Fort Stockton Friday night, 7 p.m. kickoff on 93.1 Young Country. Well, Branson got pretty excited the other night. I was listening to a little bit of the game, and when he gets excited, now Tommy Wood was a couple rows down from me at Tiger Stadium, and I could hear every word he was saying. But Branson got pretty fired up. I think he's enjoying your season so far.
Well, there's a lot of us that are enjoying our season this year. It's the kids have enjoyed it. Our coaches are excited about it, and that was one thing I'm really meant to talk about at practice today. We're at week 5 of the season, of the game season, and it's crazy once you get to that first scrimmage, and then you look up and it's week 6, week 7. So we're about to get into those games. October games that really, really matter a lot for our playoff standing. And so I think we're ready to get to that point.
I think there's a pretty good feeling that this season's not going to end after 10 games for you guys. So.
Well, knock on wood, I hope we don't either. I think that these guys have really proved that they're wanting to keep going for a while.
So we talked about Si's background here. I told him we were going to tell this story. And this is just going to age me. I'm about the same age as Coach, though, so I'm still young. So I covered your dad in high school when he was a senior, I believe, at Odessa High. They played Coronado once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. In case your dad's told you that he was a pretty good quarterback, I will vouch for him. He was a really good quarterback. So, Si, growing up in a house with a quarterback, how much has that helped your evolution as you've gotten older?
It's helped me a lot, just how he tells me to approach practice and how, like, even if we're watching, like, an NFL or college game, just, like, watch your position and just, like, learn from them because they're the best, and just how to attack games and just, like, focus on, like, in practice, even if you're not going to take mental reps, and just, like, focus on your position group and just always be learning no matter how you can.
You told me Dad does brag about one thing from his senior year.
He does.
What was that?
He always brags about beating Permian.
And I remember I was new to the area. I knew who Permian was from the book Friday Night Lights, so I knew the name. But boy, that was big news up here. That was reverberated a little bit.
Yeah, that's really not supposed to happen down there.
No, they don't like it down there. The folks in black don't like it. So, and you'll have to check with him. I thought that they went. I know they beat Coronado in the first round. They may have gone 2 or 3 rounds deep. So he's raised the bar for you already. Once you get to be a junior and senior, you're going to have to make a little bit of a playoff run.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to try to make it farther than him so I can brag to him now.
That's what it's all about.
Just a little bit of family rivalry.
Yep. Josiah, you have a Lubbock Cooper background. You grew up in that district. Have I seen you in other sports?
Yes, sir, you have.
Which ones?
I play soccer at Liberty too. I played baseball at Cooper as well with football. That was about it.
So yes, I knew your name was familiar. You score a lot of goals in soccer, right?
I save a lot of balls.
He keeps people from scoring.
Okay, you're the goalie.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And you guys got better last year.
Well, we got a little.
First year was a little rough,
but that's all part of the learning experience.
Yes,
that has to happen for you to get better.
I think there's not a lot of soccer goalie linebacker combinations. You've got a kind of a unicorn here, Joe.
Yeah, he's exceptional. And I think, did they just throw you in there one game and said, hey, see if you can do that? And
yes, sir.
And he's pretty good at it.
Which I believe is your girls' soccer goalie, I believe, is the same way. Right. Carson Killiam. I think she decided she wanted to go play soccer and said, let me try this goalie thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of happened a long time ago at Lubbock Cooper High School. They just threw a girl out there, and she turned out to be exceptional at it. And I think one of their first years, they played a couple playoff games. And so, I particularly wouldn't want to be sitting in there with people kicking balls at me, but he's really good at it.
Josiah, I'll tell you a story when we get done here about my 1 year of playing soccer, because I was a football guy. I didn't want to play soccer, but I wound up playing soccer. So.
Well, you got to be a guy to play soccer because it's cold.
Yes.
Poor old Coach Sexton doesn't really like cold all that much, and it's not one of my favorite things. But man, these guys play in anything. I mean,
if you're going deep in the playoffs, you better get used to
wet, snow, whatever they're playing.
Boy, it's fun though.
It's so fun. Yeah, I can understand. I like the fact that Texas keeps the sports separate. That's not the same way in every state. They try to overlap, and that doesn't work so well. So what about Fort Stockton do you guys have to be ready for, other than the fact they're going to want to get a little revenge on you?
I honestly think we're going to be ready no matter what. As a team, we have to keep a humble mentality, though, because Coach Newton told us a story about Mount Everest, and I'll tell you after this, but, you can't have a big win like this and think you're on top of the world. Like you said, it's halfway through the season. We can't have a huge airhead, and we have the first traveling game, and it's 4 hours long. We can't just go out there and expect to win. They're not going to hand it over to us.
Yeah, you don't want to follow up a great win with a loss that you didn't see.
Well,
coming.
anytime you put high school kids on a bus for 3.5, 4 hours, you just never know what's going to happen. So we've been talking about that early this week, and last year our one big road trip didn't work out well for us. So we're gonna talk about that a lot this week.
And you get to go back that direction this year later in district. So, and where are you going to go when you're up there?
Well,
Perryton?
yeah, we get another one. We get another 4-hour bus ride to Perryton.
And where's the dinner
we're
stop?
going to the Dixie Dog.
There we go. I wanted to give them a little pub here. I don't know that matters 4 hours away. That's going to wrap us up in the Patriot Fan Zone and the High School Fan Zone on Monday night. We'll be back tomorrow night with Monterey and Coronado. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score.